Hi guys, for today's workout we have a low impact recovery cardio workout, so absolutely no jumping. But move as quickly as you can and I promise you'll still be sweating. You don't need any equipment for this workout except for an exercise mat if you'd like one. You can always grab a pair of dumbbells to make it a little bit harder. We'll do 20 low impact cardio moves, 50 seconds each with 10 seconds to transition between them. And then we'll do a brief stretch, mostly dynamic stretches, but feel free to stretch out more on your own. So, let's get started. Starting off with walkout knee drops. And begin. So walk your hands out to a plank position, drop one knee at a time, lightly tapping the ground, and then walk it back in. Once you get the motion, you can start speeding it up to increase that heart rate. Just make sure that you are very lightly tapping your knee, just barely making contact with the ground or not making contact at all, just so that you don't jam your knee into the ground. Try to use just 3 hand motions to walk out. So 1, 2, 3, plank. 1, 2, 3, roll it up. 10 more seconds. Let it relax. Next up, we have low impact jacks with 4 punches. So tapping your feet out, bringing your hands over your head 4 times, and then doing 4 straight punches. Try to alternate which leg goes out first. Once you're familiar, start speeding it up. And let it relax. Next up, we have leg swings. So imagine that there's a chair in front of you that you're swinging your leg up and over. Start it up, bringing one leg around and then the other. The range of motion will be dependent on your hip mobility. So if you can't go super high, that's fine. Just keep it moving at your comfort level. You can speed it up or go slower if you need to, just tapping that foot down, reversing directions. Ten more seconds here. Keep those hands wherever they're comfortable. And let it relax. Next up, we have runners in place. So with one leg, you'll be in a slight lunge and you'll be bringing that rear knee forward, bringing it into your chest and bringing your arms down to meet your knee. Lightly tapping the ground in the back and driving that knee forward. Maintaining a slight lunge, a slight bend in that right leg. In 10 seconds, we'll switch sides. So switch legs. That opposite leg comes forward in a lunge and the opposite knee is coming forward. A little over 10 seconds left. Let it relax. Next up, we have modified burpees with a front kick.
Staring at your mouth, thinking about if you know what you
Begin. Come down into a plank position, stepping it out, stepping it back in into a squat, coming up for a front kick. Brace your core every time you bring up that leg for a front kick, bringing your knee up first and then extending the lower part of your leg into that kick.
Really think this could be love. Ooh, only one I'm thinking of.
Make sure you're bringing your feet as far as possible beneath you before standing up.
Yeah, you really keep me up all night.
Next up, we have a side lunge with a twist. So you'll be lunging off, and then when you come back into the center, you'll twist over the opposite leg. Again. So lunge out to the right, come up, twist that torso over the left leg. Nothing forceful. Switch sides in 10 seconds. And switch. Rest. Next up, we have an alternating side plank with pulses. So get into that side plank position on the left side. Come up, drop those hips just a few inches. Replace that hand, switch to the other side, and keep alternating. To modify this, you can stay on your knees the whole time. Rest. Alright, stand back up. Next up we have a squat with a knee. So you're just coming down into that squat as low as you can go while maintaining good form. Driving that knee up, bringing your hands to the opposite side of your knee, to the outside of your body. Seconds. Rest. Next up, we have a reverse lunge with a front kick. 3, 2, 1, start it up. So you'll be bringing one leg back behind you, taking a nice big step so that you keep 90-degree angles in both knees, and then coming forward with that same leg for a front kick. Doesn't have to be super high, just as high as you can control. Next up, we have a downward dog plus a knee drive towards your chest. So starting in plank position, going up into downward dog, extending one leg behind you, then bringing it towards your chest, extending it back out again, and then coming back into your plank. Then repeat on the other side and continue to alternate. Next up, we have a knee with a torso twist, so stand back up. You're going to be bringing one knee up at a time and twisting over it. So start it up. Crunching those abs every time, trying to move at a relatively quick pace while maintaining control. Next up, we have a low lateral step with a curtsy lunge. So coming into a half squat, taking one step to the side, then bringing that outside leg back into a curtsy lunge, then taking that lunging leg and starting it to the next side. So step, step, lunge. Step, step, lunge. For that curtsy lunge, slightly cross that back leg behind the front leg and try to keep those hips square towards the wall in front of you. And let it relax. Next up, we have a plank with an ankle tap. So starting in a plank position, then driving your hips up and reaching your opposite hand to your opposite toe or ankle, or just towards your ankle without actually making contact if you don't have that full range of motion yet. Next up, we have a bridge to toe touch crunch. So starting off on your back, start it up. So come into a bridge, pushing those hips up as high as you can, then bring your hips back down and extend your legs into a toe touch crunch, bringing your head and shoulders off the ground to meet your toes. Alright, standing up next for a squat to a side leg raise. So coming down into a squat, and bringing one leg out at a time. So try to keep that leg horizontal when you bring it up. Use control. Try not to let your torso tilt in one direction or the other. And squeeze those glutes. Next up, we have a modified push-up to a leg lift. So getting down in push-up position. So coming on your knees, going down for a push-up, and as you do, you're extending one leg out straight behind you, adding a balance challenge to work your core harder. Relax. Next up, we have a squat with an X-raise. So starting out in a squat, feet slightly wider than hip width, feet turned out just a little bit, coming down, tapping the ground, keeping that chest up, and then coming up, extending overhead, and going into a calf raise at the same time. Next up, back on the ground, we have a crunch with a toe tap. So this is combining a crunch with a Pilates toe tap. So those knees are at 90 degrees, you're crunching towards them, and then trying to maintain that 90-degree angle as you bring one toe down to the ground at a time, lightly tapping the ground. Try to keep those knees right above your hips at all times, so not letting those knees creep towards your head and your chest. Rest. Just a few more active intervals here. So next we have a squat with a side kick. And begin. So coming into a squat, then bringing that outside foot in underneath you, then bringing your knee up and using your glutes to extend that leg into the kick. Pointing your toe towards the ground when you reach full extension on that kick. Trying to hit your target with the outer edge of your foot or your heel. And if this isn't working for you, you can just do a squat with a side leg raise again. Rest. All right, we have our last active interval here, a triceps push-up to child's pose. And begin. So your hands are next to your rib cage. You're coming down into a triceps push-up, bending your elbows towards the ceiling, keeping your arms close to your body, and then pushing back into a child's pose. Pausing for a few seconds, and then coming back into that modified triceps push-up. Rest. All right, we made it to the stretching portion, so take a second, grab a little bit of water, hit pause if you need to, and then we'll finish it up with that stretch. So first we're going to stretch out the neck, so slowly and controlled bring that ear towards your shoulder. Keep those shoulders down and neutral. If you don't have a large range of motion, that's fine, you don't want to force it. About 5 more seconds here. And we're going to switch it to slow head shakes. So shaking your head no, nice and slowly. Going back to either side as far as you can without straightening anything. And in about 5 more seconds, we're going to switch it up. So now we're going to be slowly nodding our head yes, looking up just a little bit above you, and then bringing it back down. You don't want to force your chin into your chest, just to get a nice stretch along the back of your neck. In 10 seconds, we'll switch to slow head circles. So we're just going to do half of the range of motion here. So slowly rolling your head towards one side, and then coming back down and slowly rolling it towards the other, alternating each time. So now we're going to stretch out that chest a little bit. So slowly and with control, you're going to swing those arms out, stretching out the chest, and then cross them in front of you, stretching out the back a little bit. So take a few seconds at each part of the stretch. Next, we're going to raise the arms up and slowly lower them down. So loosening up that shoulder joint. We're switching it up into a figure 4 glute stretch. So bringing your ankle right above your knee on the lower part of your quad, coming down into a little bit of a squat to stretch that opposite glute, holding for a few seconds and then switching sides. If balance is a little bit too challenging here, feel free to grab onto something. we're switching it to a downward dog with a hip twist. So bringing your left leg through and then briefly resting your hips on the ground, coming back into the downward dog and then switching sides. You should really feel this in your outer thigh along your IT band. Next, we're going into a runner stretch to a hamstring stretch. So we're going to be dynamically switching between these. So coming down into a runner stretch, bringing your hands on the inside of your front leg, then pushing it back, making that front leg as straight as possible, and stretching that front hamstring. Alternating back and forth, holding for a few seconds in each pose. We'll be doing the same stretch on the other side now. So same thing, just switch which leg is in front. So next we're going into a modified pigeon pose. So you're going to bring that left leg in front of you. If you're more advanced, you can try to make that front leg in a nice 90-degree angle. Otherwise, just put it in a place where you feel that right hip opening and let that right leg come behind you. This pose can be a little challenging, so just do what you can. Don't force anything. Be careful of your knees. And then when you're ready, reach with your right hand and grab your right ankle for a nice quad stretch. If this is a little bit too challenging, you can separate them and do the quad stretch after. Slowly let that release, so release the quad stretch and then switch those legs so that you're doing that modified pigeon on the other side. And then when you're ready, go ahead and take that left arm and grab that left ankle for the quad stretch on the left leg. then slowly move into a butterfly stretch, our last stretch here. So bring those heels together. The soles of your feet are together. To make it a little bit more intense, you can gently press down with your elbows on your knees. You should really feel that in your inner thighs and in your hips. So we'll hold for about 10 more seconds here. And let it relax. All right, guys, that's it. Good job. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this low impact workout. Please comment and let us know if you have any comments or suggestions. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next workout.